So recently I was in an interview and they asked me what my favorite internet rabbit hole was, and I told them that it's Annaliese Nielsen. So if you don't know Annaliese Nielsen, let's go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, where she first kind of came onto the scene with her brand or website called God's Girls. Now, God's Girls was a competition site to Slide Girls, if you remember. So it was basically like alt tattooed girls that were being exploited for their labor, really. And that was an early form of social media also on the internet. And so she started that. And then she was also on every website. She was on MySpace. She was on Friendster. She was on Facebook. She was on all of the websites like as soon as they came out. So I actually met Annaliese Nielsen probably around 2010, and it was at a Christmas dinner for the guy who introduced Trent Reznor to his current wife. And then Annaliese later found out that I was moving to Portland, and I told her like, "Oh, I'm moving away, but it was nice meeting you." And then she was like, "Oh, you should join this Facebook group that I started called Girls Night Out." And so I was like, "Oh, what is this?" She was like, "Basically, it's like an online sorority where it's a bunch of women who help each other out. If you're moving to Portland, we definitely have members who live in Portland. We have members everywhere." So I joined the group and I find out that there's a lot of offshoots of this group, like tons of them. If you're into food, there's one for you. If you're into music, if you like the jazz cabbage, there's one for you. There's one for everybody, right? So I join this group and then I get invited to the other like subgroups, and I find out that Annaliese is holding the keys to all of these. Like she's the admin for every single group. And there are tens of thousands of people in these groups. And she creates like infighting in certain ways, and she makes herself just kind of untouchable. And everybody knows like lore about her. Like her dad used to make spicy movies in the 70s, and now he has a collection of vintage cars and he lives in James Gandolfini's old house. Like there was kind of more rumors about her and things that she would say off cuff that would make you think that she's very important. And I guess in a way she was, because she was really surrounded by hot girls with tattoos and a lot of aging rock stars, let's say. So then later she came to me and said, "I'm starting this new website. It's a new social media form and it's going to be in beta and it's called Crushy. Do you want to join?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "It's basically going to be friends of mine. So it's going to be friends of friends, people you know." So I joined, and it is a bunch of spicy workers, like tattooed women or just cool chicks, and like a bunch of guys who are mostly in bands. It's like mostly photographers and aging rock stars. And it's all like people who are friends with Annaliese, right? So we're on this website and we start doing these like late night tiny chat calls. If you remember Tiny Chat, it was kind of when chat roulette was big. So it was a similar kind of vibe where we would all meet in these kind of chat rooms that are video chat rooms. We would listen to music and watch movies, stuff like that. And there were people from everywhere in these chat rooms. It was a video of me in Portland, and then this girl from China, and another guy who was in like Appalachia, and another girl in Louisiana. It was just people from everywhere just meeting up regularly, like a couple times a week in these video calls. And there was this one guy who would come in from Seattle that gave me the creeps. Every time he came into the chat, I left. I just didn't like the vibe of that guy. And then Annaliese came to me and said, "I'm going to be opening up Crushy to the general public. So then it's going to be open to everyone and everyone will have access to it." And by that point, I had been on the website for about a year and a half. And I was like, "Oh, okay. I feel like there probably are some more kinks to be worked out on this website before it goes public, but sure." And so she's like, "Well, we're going to go public and it's going to be all ages." And I was like, pump the brakes here. Like, you don't have enough moderation for it to be all ages when you have spicy workers and older rock stars who don't have a great reputation of people who are younger. You don't have anybody regulating any of this. I don't want anything to do with it. Take me off the website. So I scrubbed myself as much as I could off the website. And then later I found out that crazy weird guy from Seattle that I didn't like the vibe of, yeah, he was being investigated by the FBI because apparently he was using that website to tell women that he was a scout or a promoter for a different kind of website and that they should come shoot with him because he's a photographer, of course. And so then they would go up and shoot with him, and then he would do things to them that was illegal that they didn't want him to do. So then enough people came forward and that they went to the FBI, and then the FBI was investigating it. So now this website is like got a bunch of people from a bunch of different places on it, and it's being investigated by the FBI. And in the midst of this investigation from the FBI, Annaliese sold the website to one of the women who was on Crushy, who kind of was obsessed with Annaliese, was definitely one of her fans, like one of her bigger followers and supporters, and financially was sending her money and stuff like that. And then she bought the website thinking, oh, this will be a good investment. And Annaliese wouldn't do me wrong, right? But Annaliese would do you wrong because she sold that website where basically now this person was having to pay to just keep the website afloat so that the FBI could investigate. She's not allowed to sell it. She's not allowed to bring on more people onto the site. She can't market the websites for it to be used. She got sold a lemon by Annaliese. A bunch of other stuff happens, and I kind of have removed myself after I kind of had the falling out and said remove me from the website. And then in 2020 some stuff came out about her, and I think it was just kind of like a no gods no masters kind of time. Like everybody was outing like every boss that did them wrong, everyone who had bullied them. I think 2020 was just a time where people were like seeing, they were faced with their own mortality, I guess, and they were just like outing everybody. And so many people came out with stories about Annaliese. It was wild. Like in one of those Facebook groups, she was always coming up with new businesses, and everybody's like, oh, she's such an entrepreneur. And she had a coffee shop, and she had a car auto body shop, and then she had a jazz cabbage business. And come to find out, all of it was a scam. People were saying that they brought their car into the auto body shop because it was woman owned and they wanted to support a woman owned business. And then Annaliese was stealing their information and committing insurance fraud with their car information. Things like that. Like everyone had a story. Oh, she was my roommate and she stole all my money. Like everybody had something to say. And then this person who's been on the internet for decades, who's been everywhere on the internet, like constantly posting all day long, she deletes everything, which means she's the only admin of all these Facebook groups, which means all the conversations that were happening in these groups also disappears when she deletes her page, right? So she's pretty much gone. And because of me, and I made some posts about how she was a scammer, a bunch of people came to me with information about her. Most recently, I got a message from a friend of a friend of a friend that apparently she met some guy on Hinge, and he was like, oh, let's, go out and we'll go to my house. So they go to his house, and then she was like, he offers her a glass of wine. She says, oh, I don't drink that kind of wine, because she has a very attitude. And so he was like, oh, okay, well, what do you drink? She's like, I only drink this specific kind of wine. So he leaves and he goes to the liquor store and he gets that wine. He comes back. She's missing. And so is his TV. And then I've heard that she has come back on TikTok as like a faceless account where she's trying to sell vintage cars, but it's most likely just her showing off her dad's vintage cars to try to scam people out of money. Like, it's wild, and the rabbit hole goes deep, because it's like the more you look up about her, sometimes it's really hard to find stuff about her, and then sometimes you find her at the heart of some of the weirdest things that have happened on the internet. And that's a rabbit hole that I continuously go down, is the Annaliese Nielsen rabbit hole. Jeez. Were you in one of those girls' night out groups? If so, please comment, because I feel like we all need a support group or something.